What does December 3rd, 2009 mean to you?
December 3rd, 2009 was something that changed my life forever, honestly. It was a day that it became more about everything else other than just me. I was on a work trip in Savannah, Georgia, and I had talked to my husband earlier that morning. I had a meeting, and always in the mornings he would say, "You got this, you're a goddess, go do it," right? So I had a great morning, had a great meeting, and finished the meeting, and I called him to tell him I was getting on a plane after lunch, and his voice, there was something wrong. He was like, "Kim, there's something wrong. There's something wrong, and I think I'm dying." And I'm like, "Oh, you're not dying." He's like, "No, my stomach, there's something going on." And I was in Savannah. I said, I got to call the ambulance. He's like, "I'm not calling. How do you call the ambulance?" And I said, "I hang up the phone." I looked at my clients. I said, "How do you call 911 to Nashville from Savannah, Georgia?" And I called the ambulance. They picked him up. I got there, got on a plane, emergency plane, got rushed there, and I didn't know if my husband was going to be alive or not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was a day that, changed my life forever.
Wow. Okay, we're about to get real. Kim Harkness, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Charlie.
Join Charlie Maloof as he explores the personal journeys of Broad River Retail's very own memory makers. Welcome to Stories from the River.
This is Stories from the River, the Kim Harkness episode. And as you could just hear, this thing's about to get real and get authentic. So Kim,
Yeah.
been looking forward to this conversation for a really long time. So glad that you're here with us today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So before we get going, tell us a little bit about you and your background and your career prior to joining the River.
Okay, well, I'm a Tennessee girl. I'm born and raised, so that's pretty evident. I wear a lot of orange, right? So from Tennessee and, from the country. And I was from a small town of about 6,000 people. When I finished high school, didn't really know, I didn't have that, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a lawyer, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I started into college and I got a couple of 2-year degrees there, and eventually down the road, I was like, marketing is where it's going to be. I actually loaded up the truck and I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, right? So that's where I started my career. It's where I cut my teeth in marketing, and lived and breathed the whole Nashville life. I was living my best life in Nashville. So I've been in marketing for 26 years, and in some capacity. So Nashville to Connecticut. I had to move to Connecticut. For my husband had a position there in Connecticut. So
Connecticut.
Connecticut. I was like, I had to get a map. I was like, where's Connecticut?
So would I, by the way.
Right? Yeah. So Southern girl in the North was fish out of water. So, so I worked at a corporate office there, advertising agencies in Nashville, and then moved to Charlotte about 8 years ago. And here I am.
Well, and you're not just from Tennessee, you're from East Tennessee.
That's correct. There is a difference.
Yeah.
There is a West, there's Middle, and there's
That's
East.
Right. So how long have you been with us now?
A little over 5 years. So,
Okay.
yeah, May of 2017.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Most people tend to remember their first day with the company. Now, I remember before you started, you had a really important trip to Hawaii to go to. So you got that trip done, and then you came ready to work. Right?
You're never going to let me live that one down, are you?
I was happy for you. I was like, get it out of the way now. I was jealous, too. I've never been to Hawaii. Do you remember your first day with Broad River?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to say I'll remember my first day when I came in. There was my badge, had my face on it, it was welcome Kim Harkness. There were folks there to greet me, you were there, Manny was there.
We were excited about your arrival.
Yeah. So it was like, oh yes, Princess has arrived. Hello. So yeah, it was great.
Well, do you remember your interview with me?
Oh yeah.
I do remember. Tell us about the interview.
Are you sure you want me to?
Well, you can go for it.
Okay, that's great.
I asked the question.
You did. It's not bad. I do remember coming in for the interview, and you were actually standing at the front desk. Do you remember this?
I do remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were leaned up at the front desk. I didn't know who you were. And I actually got up from my chair and I stuck my hand out. I said, and what is your capacity here? I remember that just so clearly. And you kind of looked at the receptionist, like, well, I do a lot of things around here. And I'm like, okay, you introduced yourself, Charlie Malouf. I'm like, I got it. I was like, game face on. I just met the president. So, so that was when I first, met you. And then in the interview process, again, I think I had met with the vice president of marketing, and then my final was with you. And I don't remember if Manny was there or not, but I do remember having conversations about restructuring the department, and the conversations that we were having about that, and the growth. And it was a lot of, you were picking the brain. It was like you were zinging, zing, zing. And I'm like, oh man, this is going to be fun, right? Yeah. So it wasn't just the standard questions. It was zinging some of those questions, very thought provoking.
I may have had some coffee before. We were peppering you.
You were peppering me. Absolutely you were. Yep.
Well, take us through your career journey with us thus far at the River.
Yeah. So I started as a director of marketing. And the department, I would call it, they were toddler stages, right? So you know this. Even there were a lot of systems and processes that really weren't in place yet. So, that was the first order of business, right? You got to get your hands around everything. You got to listen to the needs. You got to understand what's in front of you. And, the filing system was email back then. I was like, email. That was where everything was kept, was on email. I was like, oh, I got my work cut out for me. So, and, when you come from a top 50, Fortune 500 company down to a smaller, it's a smaller company. It's a little bit, okay, they don't know what they don't know yet, right? So there was a lot of growth and just gaining those efficiencies and putting in operations and procedures and getting a lot of structure around that. Because it's more than just making things pretty.
There's no function point at this point.
There's no function point. Function point being a project management platform, there was nothing. It was there wasn't even that. It was email.
Well, toddler stage may be generous, and now hopefully we're a young adult. Or maybe,
we're young adults. Okay. We're young adults now. Yeah, yeah.
So you lead our Marcom department. Let me unpack that. Okay. Marketing, communications, and community outreach. Yeah. What can you tell us about your team? I know you love your team.
I love my team. Okay, so marketing, communications, community outreach, there is such a blend, and there's a lot of crossover with some of those functions as well. But so my team, I have graphic designers and creative folks, so that, Jim and Aiden on that side of the fence. And anything that we imagine, they just bring it to life. We're good at stick people, right? They can just take things to the next level and imagine things that we couldn't even have imagined how it would be. So they tell the story graphically for us. And so I have Sherry, who is my senior marketing manager. So she is my quarterback, we'll say. So she's the one that makes sure everything is running smoothly and has everything on deadline. So she has to run the ship. If she's not running the ship, ship's not running, right? And then also now we have communications. So we just added that recently, which was a big win because communications was really a piece of the pie. We just did it. Somebody picked it up to do it. You did it. I did it. Others will have to do it, right? So now we've got someone in play there for that. And then community outreach. We've got Lindsay on more for community outreach, and she oversees all of those activities or Hope to Dream program.
And you got Christian too.
And Christian. So Christian's our intern, which has been a great experience. It was the first time we've had an intern.
Yeah.
And he started with us this summer, and it's growing into more than just an internship.
He's doing a great job.
Fantastic.
Okay, so you've been in the industry for 26 years, you said, before us. Or something like that. Maybe less.
I'm not telling my age.
Well, what do you love about marketing?
I love marketing because it's more than what people think that is. There's the creative side of that. It's telling a story. You're connecting a brand, whether it's a product, service, whatever that is. You're connecting that to someone. So it's a relationship. I'm all about relationships, right? So it's telling the story and building that relationship. So that's what I like about marketing. I also like it because you have to use two sides. It fits two sides of my brain. So I'm one of those folks, there's inside scoop, left brain, right brain. Some people do left, some people do right. I have tested 3 times. It's like down the middle, right? Down the middle. It's like, we don't know what to do with you, Kim. And I'm like, okay, marketing, it fits the creative side,
Mm-hmm.
but I love numbers. I
Mm-hmm.
love numbers. So 1 + 2 is always going to
Yeah.
equal 3. Always. You're always
Yeah.
going to get an
Yeah.
answer. Marketing, you don't always get an answer. You get it through your data and analytics, right? Which serves your numbers. But
That's great.
yeah, I love it.
But we also fold in this interesting thing, and it's so important to our culture and who we are, our identity is community outreach.
Yep.
What do you love about our version or focus on community outreach?
You know, the community outreach program has grown in the past 5 years. When I first got here, it was Beds for Kids in Charlotte, which is a fantastic organization. But now we have really stamped that out into all the other regions and brought the community service into all of our stores, which is fantastic. You know, you go back to furnishing life's best memories, our purpose, you know, and for our guests, for our memory makers, and for our community. And we really do live that out. It's impactful not just for our communities, but for our memory makers. I mean, when you're having a bad day, you go serve. I mean, it just fills your cup.
Yeah.
It fills your cup.
And that's what a lot of our memory makers just love about us is that part of it. Like it just makes it so much special of a place for them, for what we do and what they're able to do through us. Okay, I'd like to shift gears a little bit. Okay, so the pandemic has really taught us about this concept of remote work or work from home or maybe even work from anywhere. How has this pandemic adjustment and shift been for you and your team?
So when the pandemic hit, we sent everybody home, I guess, March 13th, right? It was on that Friday. And we got to work on the 16th on that Monday, and everybody was at home, right? We knew we had processes in place. So it was just really shifting your mindset into, okay, we're not doing this in person, but we have Teams, we have the Zooms, we have whatever. We're still going to connect. The connectivity was the most important, but the processes never stopped. We still rolled the same.
Yeah.
You've got a job to do. You got a task in there. We still did it. It was just how you trafficked that differently, right? So it didn't really. It was just a mind shift for us.
So work is still an output, but one thing you guys were always big on, like the water cooler collaborations, right, in your war room. And so there's obviously less of that. And I want to get into kind of how let me ask you, how have you maintained good connections with your team while working remotely? How have you been able to have those kind of spontaneous collaborations? And do you have a best practice or two that you can share with us?
Yeah, it's a great question because everybody handles work from home and team collaboration different. And with marketing, some of your best ideas is, like you said, we get in that war room and we would just whiteboard stuff. Jim would go throw something on a computer and come print it out and throw it on the boards, and we would talk about it. And, so you really miss that connectivity and just getting together and having that synergy. But, every day I was like, okay, first of all, we don't know what we don't know. And, we needed some kind of cadence. I'm very big on cadence. Because as long as you have your North Star and your cadence, then you always know what to go back to. So every day at 9:00, team meeting. 9:00, don't care who you are, 9:00, everybody on.
And did you do that before the pandemic?
Before the pandemic, we did. We had a 9:00 check-in. Some days it would just be like there's nothing to talk about and we were on with their life. But at 9:00 every day, everybody was
so
around.
You continued that.
Yeah, we just continued
But
that.
it was more formal and you didn't miss it.
That's right.
Yeah. It's your chance to connect.
Yeah, it's your chance to connect.
Yeah.
And once we got our cadence, it was like, okay, do we need to meet every day? So I would do an hour on Monday mornings because that's when all of your work life was set for the week. And then 30 minutes the rest of the week, every day for the rest of the week. And I was like, you don't have to join, or we can just join for 15 minutes. But what I found was that there was this connectivity because, again, people were not connecting, right? And there were people, you start digging a little deeper. There were people there were single people that didn't have, anybody that they were living with. And so they had no personal connectivity, and it was just, it could rock the boat. So I have found that 9:00 meeting has really just been a godsend for our team.
I heard that maybe there were some people who, even on their days off, were still joining the 9:00 meeting. And you're like, what are you doing? Like,
what are you doing? Well, and sometimes I will say this. I'm going to say Jim Golan's. He called us from from Mexico. He was, of
that's
course,
not right.
yeah, he was on the beach, right? So I was just like, what are you doing, Jim? He was like, but it just gives us joy, and those 9 o'clock meetings, Charlie, are not always it's not 30 minutes of work. We're connecting with people and each other because you got to connect to care.
Yeah.
And so we form those relationships.
Yeah.
So,
really helps with the mental health component of it,
yeah.
which became so important.
Yeah.
Well, how are you able to effectively manage remote workers? Is it still the same process as before, or is it different?
It's the same process, but instead of doing your 8 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, whatever, that got expanded to 24/7, 7 days a week. Really, because the needs change, and if somebody has, oh, by the way, they've got a small child, or they have to go pick up, a kid or whatever, the interruptions during the day, you didn't have to worry about those interruptions. You just knew that you could come back, and at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, you could get online and do that. I had a young lady that worked for me, Megan, and she was on maternity leave during the pandemic. She had her child in the middle of the pandemic, and she came back. There was no daycare. So she has a small baby that she has to take care of. Her husband's working from home. She's working from home. She's got a full-time, mom, no help. Nobody, there's no shots. And so I just told her, it's like, listen, if you got to do it at 10 o'clock at night, for 3 o'clock in the morning, do it. She never missed a deadline. She never missed a deadline. So just don't miss the deadlines. And
some of those deadlines in the early days of COVID were all about like safety posters or booklets or playbooks.
Right.
I mean, there's a ton of that added on to. I felt like you were producing content for human capital and safety like every day, every week.
It was every day. Yeah, it sure was. Yeah.
So what are some of the pros and cons of working remotely or working from home?
The pros I say for my team, you think about, it's different being a marketing team inside of a building that's in a different industry. Okay, so we're marketing inside the retail industry. When you're in an ad agency, it's a lot different because you have a lot of creative. Everybody's doing the same thing, right? So there can be a lot of distractions, right? And it's not a bad thing. It's just that there's more going on. So trying to keep grounded in, I have this creative and there's numbers being thrown over here, or there's lots of training going on over here. It was, so working from home, it allowed focus, right? So that was one thing I get feedback from my creative team is like, it does allow focus because they don't have the distractions around them. Yeah. So that I'd say would be, a pro. And also there's not drive-bys, there's not drive-bys, having those interruptions, right? So the con, there's not those drive-bys and interruptions, right? Because you're not connected with the people. So that would be the con to that.
Some of the pros are also the cons.
That's right.
It's just different. Well, this day, how many days are you coming to the office per week, would you say nowadays?
I just got back in the office this week. Oh, I was in the office 3 days this week.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow, right?
Is that like a new normal for you?
It will be a new normal. Yeah, I'm going to get back into the office a couple of days a week and talk to my team, and we're going to start getting a standard of at least connecting a day, maybe 2 days a week in office. So we've got to, figure out how that's going to work.
Maybe the same day for everyone, so y'all are all there
so we'll all be together. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's shift gears and go back a few years. And we'll this is Stories from the River, so we got to go through some stories.
Okay.
Do you recall our Orange Crush road shows? Yeah. How many were you a part of?
Oh gosh, 2 of them?
2? Okay,
2 of them, yes. 2 of them, that's right.
Because you joined in May 2017. We had done the first one earlier that year.
So I did 2 and 3. Yes, correct.
How involved were you with those?
I was more involved with the pre-production of all of that, right? And all the playbooks and the planning of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are your favorite memories from the Orange Crush tours?
Oh gosh. The Orange Crush tours it really evolved. Right. So it was just, okay, we're going to get out into all the stores. And then it became, let's find that with purpose, right? And then what we're doing that. So the Orange Crush tour, I will say OC3 was really one of my favorites.
What is Marketingville?
So Marketingville that's our group, of course, right? So OC3 was part of the purpose. And we did
our
things
year
with
of purpose.
Our year of purpose,
and we had
right?
purposeful spaces.
That's right. So we had the purposeful space. And you told all departments, go out, reimagine your space, make it with purpose. So I went to my team and was like, how do you see this space? And in that marketing war room, it was gray walls. It wasn't didn't drive energy or anything. It was just
very
there.
corporate.
It was very corporate, right? And what gives them peace? What gives them calm? What gives them creative juices? What makes them tick? And every one of them, by large, said, "Oh, we love the beach. We love the sound of the ocean." So that's where it started.
Yeah.
So everyone on the team, they just reimagined what that was going to look like. So and every wall in that space is used. Jim Goins actually painted the ocean waves on there.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah. So then we have the, it feels like you're at the beach with the graphics on the wall. The cork boards, we use those every day because that's where we post our art.
I think you had the pebbles, you had the birds hanging from the ceilings. I think you even had the beach chairs in the sand.
Yeah, we had the beach chairs.
Didn't you win the award for most creative
we
space?
Did. Yeah, we did. Yeah. So, the only thing it was missing was the margarita. So we called it Marketingville, right? That's what we said, right?
Appropriately so.
So that's why we call it Marketingville. Yeah.
Okay. So when you joined the river, let me ask you this. How many stores did we have? I know you've done the count on this.
15.
15 stores. Okay.
15, yeah.
And how many distribution centers did we have?
1.
Okay. So today, as of this recording, I need to qualify that, and of this podcast interview, we have 31 stores and 3 distribution centers.
Right.
So how many grand openings and ribbon cuttings have you been responsible for over the past 5+ years?
Oh, well, so that would be, we cut a ribbon on every one of them, including the Spartan Ridge. So 16 of them. 16
plus 2. So wow, that's 18.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a favorite memory or story or two to share from one of our grand openings?
I honestly, this is it is the recent one. I guess probably I probably got 2. One of the most special from the grand openings was the ones we did last year. That was, we went Asheville to Augusta to Albemarle. Now, I may or may not have been cussing you behind your back because I was like, 3 of them were dying over here, but.
So no. 3 in 3 days.
3 in 3 days, right? So, but when you look back, some of the memories that we made with everybody, because there was a lot of work to be done with that, but there was a lot of connectivity. I mean, and I'm just going to give you a quick story with this. I was in Augusta, and that was a huge store. It was a 2-in-1. I think it used to be a Kroger. Was that right?
Yeah.
Okay. It was
huge.
Kroger.
Yeah, big store.
Yeah, and so they had to, I remember Tim Sales telling me, had to take the deli out and reimagine what it was going to look like. So it was our first side-by-side 2 separate entrances with the outlet and also the home store. Todd Wanick was slated to come there, right? It was a big deal. It was a big deal. 40,000 square feet, right?
47.
47, okay.
Plus, yeah.
It was the largest we'd ever done. How are we going to get 47,000 square feet of grand opening happen? I mean, it was a large task, right? And I got from, we did the ribbon cutting in Asheville and drove over that evening to set the store up. There was a team of people there, Charlie. There was a team of people just ready and willing to help. One of those, Kevin Kimman, from the East okay, had driven over. He's like, "Hey, how can I was like, Kevin, what are you doing here? You drove in." Yeah, I drove in tonight. And he was helping to set up the backdrops, and Tracy Downs was helping, and Lindsay was there, and Kathleen was, it was just, it was really a special time, because you just wouldn't have imagined
everyone
that.
chipping in. You said you had 2. Was there?
Yeah, here's the second one. The second one was actually just a few weeks ago when we were at the
Greenwood?
Greenwood, yes, thank you. Yeah, the Greenwood grand opening. So we're at the Greenwood grand opening, and it was fun because I've been challenged this year to take those grand openings to the next level, right? And I was like, okay, well, don't threaten me with a budget and a good time, right? So I was like, I want a large ribbon to wrap this building. Now, I won't say I was disappointed. It was a test case, right? We knew it was Greenwood. It was a smaller store, and that's where we wanted to test it. But we found a big bow company out of Connecticut. Interesting.
All roads lead back to
All
Connecticut.
roads lead back. And found a company there that actually makes those bows and puts them on buildings. And we had to get the installation team to come out and install. They had never installed bows on these buildings. They'd never done it. So they were kind of like, it was the first a lot for everybody. And we didn't have we had A, B, and C options. We had to settle with a C just because we didn't know what we didn't know, but we do now. But I was in the store with the general manager there, and the ladies came in to set the balloons the next morning, and they're like, oh my gosh, those bows are amazing. It's like we can see it from the road. We had people to come in and say, oh, are you taking those orange balloons over to Ashley? Because we saw that there's bows on the side of that building. I was like, oh yes. So they knew it. They saw it.
You gift wrapped a store.
We gift wrapped a store. It was fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay, shifting gears again, I'd like to reflect on something we've kind of become known for, which is our playbooks, as well as our presentations in town halls. Let's start with playbooks.
Okay.
So early on, you had kind of become my go-to secret weapon for playbook development. I'm sure you hated that, but I needed some help.
No, I did not hate that.
How many of these do you think you've worked on and or produced for us?
Oh, wow. Oh, Charlie, I don't know. I mean, there's
dozens.
There's been dozens in different capacities, right?
Okay, so we were always coming up with playbooks and had a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah.
And sometimes we got to recycle some content.
Sure, we did. Yeah,
tweak it here and there.
Sure.
And I'm known to be a little bit of OCD or perfectionist, so sorry about that.
No, because you know what, and I appreciated that. So this is why, is the work getting there? Okay, yeah, it's always a lot, right? Herding the cats, we say, right? Herding all the content together. But I appreciated that at the end of the day, it was brand 101, because what you put out there, that's what people saw.
Yeah.
They're not seeing this, they're seeing it. You have to have pride in what you're presenting out there. So I appreciated that you appreciated it.
Well, and we got so much better at it over time, and we got you help put processes in and get deadlines out. But then in late 2019, as we were coming to the tail end of our year of purpose and entering into our United year, there was an idea to take I think I pitched this to you, our annual playbook to the next level. I think I said, imagine publicly held companies and their annual reports, shareholder reports, as kind of a guide. We went through several of them. Can you take us through these conversations and the end result of the 2020 annual playbook? Yeah.
So that it's an annual plan. So it morphed from the playbook to a plan.
Yeah.
Because that was the next level. It reduced the need for having multiple playbooks throughout the year. You had your North Star. So the planning process just happens prior to that year, right? The fall of the prior year. And you know what you are going to be accountable for, or what your targets are, what your goals are, what you want to accomplish for the following year. It just really allowed everyone to see that in one place and to have that North Star, to understand that, yes, that's our company initiative. Yes, those are our goals. Yes, that's what we're all targeting. And so it really brought it to the next level to allow everything to be put into one beautifully wrapped package. It was a very professionally well done plan.
Outsourced or produced? So
we did all of the graphics and all the treatments internally. We did hire an external copywriter, because that is something we did not have. Hired an external copywriter, and then we outsourced, of course, the print production of that.
How much time do you think our creative team invested in that piece?
So I will say that I had 6 weeks, solid weeks, of dedicated time for one designer. So that was just one designer. And then on top of that, I had another half of the time for the second designer on that.
That's like hundreds of hours.
It was hundreds of hours,
Hand drawing, creative.
There was some hand drawn, in there too, yeah.
I can't tell you how proud I was of that book. I probably have shared that electronically, and now we know what happened in 2020. So the North Star we had to pivot, but it was a beautifully produced book plan. Is it safe to say that the 2020 annual plan was your favorite piece that you produced at the River?
Absolutely. And let me tell you why. There was a lot of not just work, but strategic work, not just from my team, but from all departments. And they understood what that end result was going to be. And we could share that with our other partners. We could share that with our financial partners. We could share that with whomever. It set our standard and our brand.
It really elevated our corporate brand for Broad River. Okay, so lastly, during our employee engagement survey, one of the themes that we read over and over from our memory makers was how much they really appreciated and enjoyed our company-wide town halls. And there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to produce a town hall and to do it well. But now I feel like we've really got the template and the cadence down to a science almost. We typically produce one now every quarter. And so take us through your experience with producing our town halls and where we are with them today, as well as the value that you believe they add.
So I'll take you back to the why, right? So you came to me and said, okay, we've got to be able to communicate to our folks, right? And we're not in front of them now. So how do we do that? And that was, to your point, it was the town hall. So we knew that there needed to be transparency and the cadence, and there had to be real. It couldn't just be fluff. If somebody's going to spend their hour of that day, then let's give them what they want to hear.
That's right.
Right? And not just a pat on the back, but here's the real stuff. And it was the hard stuff at first, right? Because going through the pandemic, people didn't know if they were going to lose their jobs. They didn't know, stores were closing. If you're not selling, you're not getting paid. So it was heavy. It was heavy at first.
Tenor, and transparency were really important.
It was extremely important. And the empathy that goes with that too. Knowing that the information that we were delivering sometimes was hard for people to hear, but we did it in a way that we led with empathy.
Yeah, that's really important.
It was extremely important.
And so where are we with them today?
So today, we've got a great cadence with those today. We were doing one a month because, again, that was a lot, but it was necessary.
Yeah.
It was necessary to be able to communicate that. So now we're, like you said, one a quarter, and the feedback that we get is true. It's certainly the connectivity, the transparency, and that's what we've become known for. Is that people know what's going on. Inside the company.
And one of the ways we get better at them is you talked about feedback. We survey after every single one, and we want to hear the good, bad, and ugly. How can we make these better?
And we do get the good, bad, and the ugly.
That's right.
And we take it all into consideration. We sure do.
Okay, shifting gears once again.
Okay.
I'd like to talk to you about a monumental milestone day in our company's history. The Leadership Summit in late August 2018, when we brought in Inky Johnson and Joey Ryman as keynote speakers and officially launched our company's organizational purpose statement, Furnishing Life's Best Memories. How did we get Inky Johnson to come speak to us?
So I remember you were having your brainstorm, and you actually passed me in the hallway, and you're like, "Hey, Kim, you know who Inky Johnson is?" Well, of course I know who Inky Johnson is. And you thought that it was like, "Oh, do you know Inky?" Well, I don't know Inky, but I know who he is, right? Of course I did. Inky Johnson played football for the University of Tennessee, a cornerback, right? Cornerback, not quarterback, cornerback. And he was very well known in our University of Tennessee circle. I called a friend of mine and said, "Okay, I don't really know how to get Inky to answer a call or whatever." And so a friend of mine, she actually works for the University of Tennessee. She goes, "Well, hold on. Let me just go see if I can get a phone number." Okay. So my friend, she hooked us up with the phone number, and I got on Inky's calendar. So that was pretty fun.
I think by the time we had brought him in, and this is no exaggeration, I had just found out who he was. I think I'd listened to over 100 hours of Inky Johnson on YouTube. I mean, his content, his story is so amazing. What can you share about your memories about that leadership summit with Inky?
So, well, there were a few things. So, first of all, the energy that Inky brought. He just, when somebody walks in, they just have that like people are just attracted to that story and they want to know more, and just people were listening, like they were just. You could hear a pin drop, because people just wanted to hear him speak. His story is so amazing. The motivational aspect of that, very so good. But what I remember is after that, and we were in the lobby, and you had an opportunity to come up and have a quick photo snapped with Inky, and people came up, and he was connecting like one-on-one. So, for that day, I mean, we only had so much time with him, right? So we got a contract of time. It's like, you don't want to stop those conversations, but you're like, okay, you can't have 5 minutes with him. You got to move along, right? But Inky was so fine. He was so gracious and really, really wanted, it wasn't because he was getting paid to do it. He wanted to hear those stories. It's really what drove him.
It was really powerful. Well, he came in, he had lunch with a select few of us. Yeah. He did the Q&A after his talk for several minutes. And all this is on YouTube. We can put this as links for the additional resources on this episode. And then he stayed and spoke to everyone who wanted to talk to him, take a picture, shook hands, and listen to their story.
Every last one.
Yeah. That was amazing. Okay. And then the following year, we transformed our annual leadership summit into a purpose summit, something we called Purpose 828. Do you have a favorite story or memory from Purpose 828?
You know what I remember from Purpose 820? It really took our meeting, it took it to the next level, right? So it was planned, purposeful. There's that word again. It was with purpose, right? And so there were different breakouts. There was, not everything is a cup of tea for everybody, right? But there was something for everyone to learn.
Speakers, breakouts, connections, velopops or pops, desserts. I mean, and it went late. It was a long day,
but it was fun. I remember the music. I remember the singing. I remember
purpose bombs.
The purpose bombs. Yeah.
Okay, great. So, in keeping with the theme of special events and celebrations and whatnot, can you share some of your recollections and memories from our in-person events? Let's start with our semi-annual awards ceremonies.
Okay. What I remember most about that, it was so hot.
So hot.
It was so hot.
Because it's in July.
It's in July.
In the parking lot.
And I'm thinking, who thinks this is a good idea to have an outdoor event, But people forgot the heat. They just forgot the heat, right?
Was that because of the dunking booth?
May have been.
Don't go last in the dunking booth. I don't know. There's no chlorine in that water.
And it's cold, I understand, right?
Yeah. And so what about the January 2020 gala in Uptown Charlotte? We've had several past guests and fellow memory makers recount how special that evening and event was.
Yeah, that was fun. A chance to get dressed up and get recognized, have a nice dinner. The venue was outstanding, and you felt it was special when you walked in. You knew that there was something special going on, and the recognition and it was more than just, here's a certificate. Thanks for playing. I mean, it was a real recognition of the folks that were there. Right?
I think there's pure joy in the room.
It was, yeah.
So most recently, or more recently, we just put on our very first soiree.
Yeah.
Our inaugural home furnishings expert soiree at Oak Steakhouse. I think we bought out the whole restaurant for that evening. So complete with an ice sculpture and so much more. So take us through the planning for this event and some of your favorite moments from the most recently expert soiree.
So Heather Greenwood calls me up and she's like, Kim, hey, I know you've got a couple of grand openings, but what do you think about doing a soiree? Actually was a dinner. At that point, we just called it the dinner, the Home Furnishings Experts Dinner.
Okay.
And so, I got Jim and Sherry, the team involved, and we got to meet with the Memory Maker Experience team, which was fantastic. And it's like, just imagine what you want this to be. And event wasn't it, right? We knew it had to be more special than just, it was a dinner, it's an event, ho-hum, right? So that's nice. Yeah, soiree was something different. And so I know there's a lot of people going like, oh, a soiree. Or like, yes, a soiree.
Have you been to many soirees?
I have never been to a soiree.
I think this is my first soiree to go to.
But wasn't it fun?
It was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
Did you have a favorite moment from it?
My favorite moments, well, first of all, the favorite part of the process was working with Heather and her team to just imagine and watching those teams say, this is what I imagine it to be, and it coming to life. That's the I know funnest is not a word, but it's the funnest part of my job, just watching that creativity happen and it all coming together. And then the wow factor when that does. I will say the ice sculpture was pretty cool.
Did you pour some champagne down the and drink it through the ice sculpture?
I may have. Yeah.
Okay. I saw a few people doing that. That was a lot of fun. Okay, one of the things that we've become known for here at the River is our use of an annual theme. Yeah. Some of the ones we've recently had have been, Be Premier in 2018, Our Year of Purpose in 2019, which we mentioned earlier, Our United Year in 2020, a prophetic word for what became a
so
year.
Appropriate.
Yeah. Forward Together, not one, but two words in 2021, the together part carrying the heritage and legacy of United on to another year, which you really helped us nail down. And now Our Year to Thrive in 2022. Yeah. What all goes into the selection of an annual theme?
It's a large process, right? Because there's, we've already started that, right? Here it is September, and we've already started talking about it. We start that process earlier and earlier because it gets bigger and better every year. So we understand the importance of having that theme and what we're living through, right? So it usually starts with the leadership team, and we're throwing some things out there, and then it just kind of gets narrowed down. And then we really dig into a few of them, and we literally vote on that. We go through a voting process of what that looks like, and then the creative process comes in, which is a lot of fun. And watching Jim bring to life what that looks like, the intricacies. So when you look at back from 2000 and he got here in 2018. So if you look at 2019 forward, where he had his hand, and actually I created the little bitty one. I mean, it was I won't even say created. I took a graphic and created the first one back in 2018. It's come so far. You can see the intentionality in how that's projected.
Yeah, there's so much into thought and creative that goes into it. And you really have to capture the zeitgeist of the company and the time, and something that's going to last for a whole year. Right. You have to start it early, but you have to make sure you're not tired of it by the end of the year.
It has to have longevity.
Then once the appropriate word or theme is selected, what goes on behind the scenes to help bring this theme to life throughout the organization? Because we usually kick it off at an annual kickoff event in late January, because we get all the production and design work. So what is all the behind the scenes to help bring the theme to life?
So I think that there is, well, like you said, there's the process that starts for the why of the word, but then we not only have to understand why we did it, we have to have the buy-in of our people, right? And so allowing them to understand why that word was chosen, why it's applicable. And I will tell you, every year that we've done this, there's so much excitement. They love turning on that computer and just seeing that logo pop up.
Because you're going to infuse it everywhere.
You infuse it everywhere.
Multiple touch points.
Yeah, multiple touch points.
Presentations, t-shirts, mugs, pins.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
Here's my Thrive
Oh, there
pin.
you go. Yeah, see, it's everywhere.
What is the power behind an annual theme, and why is it important?
It's important because I'm really big on cadence. We talked about that, but the North Star, right? And it's just everyone is marching to the same.
Yeah,
same
I like
drum.
that.
Yeah, so it's important.
Purpose begins with identity. Another unique part of the Broad River DNA is this saying that we use over and over. And then we really take that to a whole other level from a branding and brand identity perspective. It creates a little bit of extra work or burden on our marketing creative teams, but it also instills such pride in our memory makers. What's the origin story of store identities and our first reveal event?
So our first reveal event. So the store identities, like you said this, right? Purpose begins with your identity. You have to have that identity to understand where you're going with that.
Well, to borrow your phrase, I think it's the North Star.
This is the North Star, right? It's your North Star. So when we did this, I think at the time we had, I want to say 21, maybe 24 stores.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
February 2019.
Yeah. So a couple of dozen maybe.
Yeah.
And so we started these identities for these stores, and we're like, it has to be special. So at the time, we were still meeting with the retail team in person, and so we actually had these logos printed out on paper, and we stuck them inside balloons, the helium balloons, and we had each of the general managers come up, pop their balloon, and get their identity. And so we would reveal the logos that way. And it was a lot of fun for them.
Yeah, all they knew is they were selecting their nickname.
That's it.
They had no idea that we were designing it for a couple months behind the scenes.
Yeah.
How much creative time, energy, and work goes into the production of a store or now departmental identity?
So the starting point is 72 hours, like 3 days, right? So 3 days of time. That's
production time.
Of production time. Yeah. So for each one of those, and that's just when the store comes to us with the identity. We now have an intake form for that. Why is this important to you? Tell us, what we should be pegging to, right? And that allows Jim to go back, and he has to research that, because there's things that specifically geographic locations like Greenwood, for example, or Southern Pines. He's not familiar with that. Right. You have to do some research with that and understand why they chose that. So there's probably a day's worth of time that just goes into the research to curate his ideation. And then he scratches things out. He'll throw some ideas on the table, and he'll go through a process of this one's yes and that one's no, and then you get to where you're going.
And unfortunately, it's not a set it and forget it, because now you have new managers and new leaders, and now we're getting to the recycled. We didn't anticipate the refresh season that would be coming about, but that's a whole other project, I guess.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, do you have a personal favorite identity that we have created for a store or region or area or department?
It was probably one of the originals.
Okay.
It was the Cosa Nostra.
The Cosa Nostra?
Yeah.
Why the Cosa Nostra?
It was just cool. It was just cool. With these identities, it's always infused with, you always have to have the BRR logo in there, right?
Yeah.
And so just how Jim imagined that, is the Godfather, right? It was just very cool.
The general manager was Jeff LaFata, and his nickname was the Godfather.
Godfather.
Cosa Nostra is family, so that was for Kannapolis back in that time. Okay. I love to brag on our creative team, as I can sense that you do as well. And one of my favorites was when we really wanted to rally behind what we would call take with merchandise during our peak selling season in November, as we were loading up the store with merchandise to assist with driving revenues during our biggest month of the year. And we wanted to set records that particular month. And you and your team came up with something really creative. Can you share this best practice idea?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I will say we did it in year 1, but we took it to the next level in year 2, right? So it was the Island of Take With Joys.
The Island of Take With Joys.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. For, Black Friday, Christmas. And Jim had such a unique perspective. We have to, during Black Friday, it's a long haul there, 4 weeks. So how do you keep it fresh and how do you change it out? And the Take With Joys had characters there. So you had the elf, you had the Santa Claus, you had the reindeer, right?
That's really cool.
Yeah, so he was, and it was fun. It was fun for the stores, and it was something just a little bit different. It was just fun.
How did it turn out? Did it drive sales that November?
So the first year, it did not. It was just it didn't hurt, but it didn't help. But then we took it to the next level and we did additional islands, because I think we originally did like maybe one island, and then it became larger. And then we reimagined that with our merchandising partners, with Lynn, and also Visual Impact with Janet, and how that could really come to life.
Yeah.
And so last year it did. Yeah. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
So you've also become an influential leader on Ashley Corporate's National Steering Committee, joining me on these quarterly licensee meetings with the Ashley Corporate Marketing Department, and full day or 2-day planning sessions, plus extra work and calls in between the quarterly meetings. Yeah. How have you enjoyed being a part of the National Steering Committee?
I do enjoy it. First of all, I enjoy it because you're getting the inside look at what's going on at the corporate level, right? You understand the bigger picture when you're a part of that and part of those conversations. There's a lot of smart people there, right? And you get that energy, right? And you know that they're wanting to push that to the next level. And so it energizes you. When you go to those meetings, you understand that everybody is working toward the same common goal. So that's helpful. You're not stuck in your silo over here in your markets, right? You understand there's a bigger picture. So the conversations are important. The knowledge gained is important. The relationships are always so important.
And they have so many resources, both internally and from their external agencies, who bring really creative points of view.
Right.
Do you believe that you've had more and more of an impact within these meetings over the years?
Yeah, I think it's really changed throughout the years. I think that, instead of there's less of the push, there's more of this, we're in it together. So they're problem solving and listening, and we are as well. So I think there's more of the of that process going on versus just here's what's happening and take the information back. There's a lot of info gathering there.
Well, I know a lot of times they'll give you a pre-read before they present something to the greater committee. So
yeah, and you know what, I am I'm humbled by that they would allow us to myself and another fellow licensed Jeff, and it's we provide that feedback before it ever hits the hits the pavement.
It's great.
Yeah.
It just shows the value that you're adding.
Yeah.
So one of our favorite topics, we talked about it earlier, is that of giving back to our neighbors within our local communities. I'd like to give you the forum to share about some of these meaningful programs and partnerships. You mentioned Beds for Kids earlier, but why don't we start with the more global Hope to Dream? What is it?
So Hope to Dream is actually corporate 501c3, right? So that's their giving program. So truly the end result here is that no child should sleep on a floor. Every child should have a bed of their own. So that's what we peg to. It's just really a natural fit. So for that Hope to Dream program, underneath that, we have different divisions throughout our partners. Thank you. Yes, we have different partners. Sleep in Heavenly Peace, Beds for Kids. So we have a partner in every that pegs to every store for that.
Restart Augusta, Family Promise. So every market's got a partner through our Hope to Dream program, so we can give a portion of every mattress sale to that program that then supports back into the local community.
It goes to the local, and that's the important piece. Is that it doesn't just when people come in to buy a mattress. You don't know where your dollars go. You know it's going back to your local community.
Reinvested back.
It's local.
So what's Broad River's unique twist on the Hope to Dream program beyond just a portion of every mattress sale that we do sometimes?
Yeah, so the one for one event, which is like, so the one for one event. So buy a mattress, give a mattress. So
any strings attached?
No strings attached.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. You can come in and, buy a $400 mattress or a $4,000 mattress. We're still going to give a one for one with that, which is pretty cool. And it's so impactful. I think over the 4-day weekend August, I think it was close to 400. I want to say 365.
So it's like extra giving for a short burst towards the program that we really care about.
Point being, 365 kids got a mattress.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so there.
What about our partnership with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital? How did that come about, and how is it activated?
This was a pretty special program. As we were growing our stores, we had to kind of look, we didn't have someone to really oversee all the community outreach, and it was kind of dividing our impact, versus having one large impact. So I believe it was Christian Adams. Was it Christian that went to the stores to say, okay, what would you like to see these dollars going to? And
for a private
for a private event,
yes,
for a private event. Where would you like to see our dollars? Where would you like to see the impact? And we thought it was going to be something like the Beds for Kids or something restarted, whatever. And they came back with St. Jude's. That's what they wanted to support. And it was like, oh, okay. And, they get behind it. It feels so good. The customers feel good. They feel good. And it's, come on, you're helping kids at the end of the day.
And we'd already been doing the Dream Home for a few years before then. So now we have the Dream Home plus these micro donations, about once a month or so.
Once a month, right.
And raising a lot of dollars to support St. Jude, which is really amazing. Okay. So we hear this acronym GSD, and what's maybe the PG version of the Kim Harkness GSD mantra that you're known for?
It is get bleep done.
Yeah. Why does that resonate so much with you?
I guess my background has been really sports driven and just, really team and sports driven, and really cut the clutter, get it done. It's always at the end of the day, get it done, right? So I don't know. It just kind of morphed over the years, and that's kind of what I've been at GSD. That's what in meetings, GSD.
Sometimes, meetings going too long. Hey, we got work to do.
GSD.
Okay, on a more serious note, we've talked about a lot of fun topics, but following the tragic death of George Floyd in 2020, our company took a formal stand against systemic racism and declared an anti-racism commitment. And we formed an anti-racism council called the ARC, and which you co-lead with Anita Harris. Why is this anti-racism commitment and diversity, equity, and inclusion so important to you?
So it's important in so many ways, personally and professionally, right? So we could no longer remain silent, right? It was no longer okay to just
say that's someone else's problem.
Yeah. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't, it affected our people. It affected the people around you, the people around me. I remember sitting on the sofa one night and having a conversation with my husband, who's African American, and I remember that moment that he was so passionate about it, and there were things that we talked about that we hadn't talked about in 15 years, and it wasn't just because we didn't feel like it was necessary. It was such a heavy moment. Then you learn that it affects the people that you love, and it's just like remaining complacent was just not an option anymore.
So why was it so important for you to step up and help lead our company through this?
It was the calling, right? So it was, how do we do it? And we didn't know how.
Yeah.
I mean, it was new to a lot of people. And it was important to make sure that we were doing the right thing and that we were not silent and we were transparent and we were supportive of our memory makers. And again, it goes back to leading with empathy.
Okay. And so tell us about table talks.
Wow. So these were table talks. I will tell you that it's not my original idea. I actually got that from Jada Pinkett Smith, who does the Red Table. And I was like, we need a common place where everybody can just strip their titles, strip everything and their who they are, and just have an honest conversation. Because until we have honest conversations, it's a lot of other things are still going to exist. We need to understand. You can't understand someone unless you have the honesty there. And what was really cool was that you would sit in these table talks, and there were some hard discussions. There were a lot of tears, and there were a lot of things that were said that were shocking. But at the end of the day, what happened after those table talks is that we learned that people were having those conversations outside of those rooms. People began to understand each other better. And even if they hadn't walked in someone's shoes, they could have empathy.
So I want to just take a moment here. So this was the summer and fall of 2020.
Yeah.
And I don't know a lot of other companies that we were bringing diverse groups from diverse backgrounds, different biases, different genders and race and religion to come together and have conversations on this topic. And you and Anita and our Memory Maker Experience team helped kind of co-lead all those. And I was in some of those, and they were powerful.
It was powerful, and I will tell you, at the top, right? You're like, should we be doing? If you're talking from an HR perspective, right? You're like, this might get us in a little trouble. But in moving through that, it was just so necessary, and there was healing that needed to happen.
Yeah.
There was just such healing that needed to happen, and understanding. It was a hard time. It was a heavy time.
I think it was good to get the conversation out above the table, as opposed to behind the scenes. Have you seen or noticed a positive impact from our efforts? I'm going to say our early efforts within the ARC, because I think it's a part of a long-term movement. But have you seen some positive change or impact?
Yeah. So I will tell you that the impact that is made is, so it started with certainly with the George Floyd incident, and to the table talks, and it grew from there. And then you realize that there are so many topics that we're not even uncovering, right? So from that grew monthly iterations of that, right? So Hispanic Heritage Month, for example, right? Pride Month. So every month we're celebrating and bringing education to people that may not have had that. It's just an awareness. It's just an education for others.
It's just the start.
It's just the start, yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone who you would consider as one of your all-time favorite memory makers who you've been able to work with over the years?
Oh, wow. Can I name a few?
Sure. Well, this is your episode.
Lynn Knowles, she's my go-to. So, and I say that because we started a few months apart from each other, maybe about 6 months apart. And so we sat back across the hall from each other, a lot of problem solving. You're down in the trenches getting stuff done and changing things, right? So you learn really fast, just such a bond with Lynn. I would also say Renee Bradley. Renee is just a ray of sunshine. She loves on her people. I would also say that Kevin Kimman, I mean, he's all fire, man. He is. If you're in a bad mood, we're gonna punch through it, right?
Well, we've had all three of them on the podcast,
Yes.
so you just plug their stories.
Yeah.
Okay, since you've joined us, how has the company grown, adapted, and changed?
I think I alluded to that a little earlier. When I got here 5 years ago, they were turning over. You and Manny were taking over just shortly thereafter. Was that 2017? 2018. Yep. Yes, 2018, July of 2018. And from 2018, it was kind of like pedal down, right? So how it's changed from 2017, it was, again, we'll go back to the toddler stages, right? And then the 2018 forward, pedal down, and we're moving, and we're innovating, and we're going to do it first. And, if get out of the way, right? Yeah.
And try not to break things. So
try not to.
Yes, right. What has remained constant during all of this growth and change?
The support.
Okay.
The leadership support has always remained constant, even when things are should we or should we not. So I would say that probably has not even, that's probably not even a true statement. It has changed. It's even strengthened.
Well, that's awesome.
I would say, yeah.
Okay, now that we're about an hour into this conversation, Kim,
I can talk a lot.
Yeah, I've got an icebreaker question for you, appropriately placed here now. When you think about how others will remember you or your legacy, and they get to come up with 3 words, what do you want those 3 words to be, other than get blank done?
I think I would say fierce, loyal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 2-worder, but I'm going to say good human. I want to be a good human. Yeah.
Love it. Can we even say fiercely loyal?
Fiercely loyal. You can say fiercely loyal. Sure
Fierce,
can.
loyal, and good human.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. We can just say good.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So since you've been a memory maker here at the River, what is something that you've learned about yourself or about what you've been able to accomplish that has surprised even you?
I don't know that it's an accomplishment, but I think it came as a surprise to me. When leading others, and I say this, as a female leader, I realized that people are watching, and it was surprising to me. I was like, you're like, why are you watching me? Why am I that person? But I realized that, that there were others that were watching me lead, and it was important.
How you carry yourself.
Not just how you carry yourself, but things that may not have been important. I have to carry that for others as well. So it's not just about me. I carry that for other women as well.
That's powerful. All right. I know that it always takes a village to achieve success. Who are some of the unsung heroes of your world? Tell us what they do or have done that have helped you.
Wow. I'll kind of go back to my husband. He's probably my unsung hero. He's very supportive, very supportive. He has a career of his own. He's got a big career. And some people would say it's hard. There's always got to be, somebody's got to give that up, right? Somebody's got to give up that identity to be able to take care of the family, and you can't have 2 A personalities, right? But we do, and we manage that. So I would definitely say that he's been a huge support and pushes me to be better and pushes me. Why not, Kim? Why can't you? Makes me think differently about things.
Love it.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Mentorship is so important. Where or from whom do you get your mentorship?
So my mentorship, actually, I still am in contact with my former boss from the first ad agency that I worked with. His name is Howard Greiner. And I worked for him for 7 years. He actually was the one that really changed the trajectory of my career. So I was in accounting at an advertising agency. That's where I started, that's where I cut my teeth. And then he moved me over to the Billboard outdoor program. And so I became operations manager. I got into the creative aspect. So that's really where I got into that. So Howard was he was the president of a billboard company that was bought out by Lamar. He sold it to Lamar years and years ago, but he was in his 30s when he did that. He was very successful and just knew the business and knew what it took to get to the next level. And so he always grounded me. And so when I had a question, he was always there to answer, kind of give guidance, and he still does to this day. I'll pick up the phone, and we're always in touch, every year.
Well, you got to send them the link to this once it's live.
Yeah.
So what's the best advice you've ever received?
Never settle.
Never settle. Okay.
Never settle.
That's good for someone whose word is fierce.
You don't settle.
And you've been with us for, 5.5 years now. If you could go back to your first day, what would you tell your younger self about what life is going to be like at Broad River Retail?
I would say, first of all, the advice would say, have patience and grace and just be open. Enjoy the ride. Because, when you're in a large corporation and then you go to a smaller company, there's such what's the word I'm looking for? There's something about the process that you learn and you grow from to get to the next, and you growing with people. And so it's really a relationship builder.
If you told your younger self to be patient and have grace and enjoy the ride, do you think your younger self would have listened?
No, absolutely not.
I know we're biased, but we certainly believe that our culture at the river is unique and really special. Yeah. What is and you're one of the leaders who helps contribute to that. So what is your favorite thing about our culture here at the river? And in your opinion, what is it that makes our culture special?
I will say that recognizing our people and always having that positive energy. So everybody's going to have a bad day. There are going to be days that you just don't even want to do it, but there is always something to look forward to. There's always some joy to be had. There always is. It's special.
Yeah, and that's a skill that can be developed.
Yeah.
So what is something that happens here that doesn't happen at other companies? Other than table talks, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure too many people would have gone to the table talks, right? Something unique that happens here. I think for me, and this was a culture driver, a culture change. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in retail or IT or accounting or customer experience, or the silos have been broken down.
That's so important.
The silos have been broken. So we don't just live in our world. And it's very easy to when you're in a company, right? Because you have your things that you're supposed to do to drive the business, but you're not really having those relationships with the other.
We've struggled with that too at times in the past, and it causes problems when you put those silos up.
Yeah.
It becomes very territorial. Matter of fact, our core value collaboration got renamed and reimagined. It originally was teamwork, and we started to find out that there were silos. Hey, you can't talk to my team. That's my team. And we had to say, hey, this is a problem. It's really about breaking those silos down. It's more about collaboration across teams. Yeah. So our company's word of the year for 2022, which we've mentioned, is thrive. What does it mean for you to thrive?
This is probably going to be, people have heard this before, but you hear the be of sound body, spirit, and mind. That's what really thriving is about. It's you have to thrive. You have to be happy. You have to take care of all three of those. All facets of that to thrive.
That's so important. We've heard that before from others as well, and I think we're all kind of seeing the same dog as Stacy likes to say.
See the same dog.
What advice would you offer up to a fellow memory maker then to help him or her thrive this year in all three of those facets?
I would say, and I have said this to someone I see sometimes a struggle. Stop, take care of yourself first, because if you're not good for yourself, you can't take care of others. You have to take care of yourself. So it's the pause for cause, right? You got to pause and do your self-reflection and then move forward. And you just got to get through it. Everybody's got to get through it.
Yeah, the metaphor I like on that is pull the oxygen mask down on yourself first before you can help others.
That's it.
Okay, so what is one thing about Broad River that you think would surprise others from the outside looking in? Maybe a misperception or something.
I think, certainly at the 60,000 foot level, retail, right? It's retail. It's a retail driven. Well, certainly that's who we are, but it's so much more than just retail. We have really reimagined what that is. It's Broad River family. It's not Broad River Retail, it's Broad River family.
Well, and even in talking about marketing, we talked very little about marketing promotions for retail. We talked a lot about other kinds of town halls and annual themes and soirees. So it's a lot of different things. And table talks is a lot more than just retail that kind of unites us. Yeah. What is something about you that would surprise your fellow memory makers?
Well, it's not going to surprise you because you do know this. I do ride a motorcycle. My husband and I have motorcycles.
I was surprised when I learned that.
Yes, yes. And there's still some people that be like, "What?" Yeah, I have a cruiser. It's a, we tool around on that. So that's fun. Some people just don't see me in that capacity.
Just be safe.
Yeah, we ride helmets. Listen, my husband always says, you got to protect. You got to protect the face, right? The moneymaker. Protect the moneymaker.
Protect the moneymaker, baby.
And then the other is probably surprising is that I held a certification in hazardous waste management.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I used to test groundwater for hydrogeologists and translate some of that stuff. I used to walk around in a blue suit.
Oh, wow.
With oxygen tanks. Yeah.
Well, okay. That's a new visual.
There you go.
Okay. What do you think are or have been the secrets to your success?
I think the secret to my success truly is about, it all pegs back to people and relationships. So treating people as you would want to be treated, the golden rule, right? Number one.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're a janitor or the president. We're going to have those conversations. My mom would always say it, and I still say it. Everybody puts their britches on the same. They do, so it, I would say.
I believe that about you. I think that's spot on. Well, what are your best daily habits that serve you well, or that are, that have served you well, or that are currently serving you well today?
My mental time. So I always block those moments to prepare for the day, even if it's just, and again, when you go back to the pandemic, there was no time. There was no personal time, right? You're really trying to get through things. And so even if that's your, putting on your makeup or doing your hair for 15 minutes, you have silence. You're in your head and you're going through your reps of what you got to accomplish. Yeah. So doing the mental check.
You're being mindful of like what John Acuff talks about, the soundtrack that's playing in your mind or the playlist.
Yeah.
If you could change one thing about the company today with the wave of your GSD wand, your magic GSD wand, what would it be?
Well, we're going to get there. So I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to wave the wand. The wand's going to get wet.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to wave the wand.
What is it?
Yeah, it would be everyone on the same communication page, just the intranet. That we're going to talk the intranet, right?
I like it.
The communication, because again, we've done a really good job of breaking down silos within departments, but we have grown our footprint. So now we have inherently got to solve for how we get everybody walking on the same.
You would manifest an exciting vision for our company communications and intranet.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Kim, it's time. It's a new era. Let's say I'm going to retire and I'm giving you the keys to the company. You've done such a great job in your current role, and you're the new president and CEO of Broad River Retail. And hey, guess what? Surprise, surprise. Today's your first day in the new role. Wow. So what would be your first order of business?
Other than changing out your office into all this Tennessee stuff is going.
That's right.
First order of business. It's not going to be surprising. It's going to be the people. It's going to be connecting, seeing and hearing, listening to the people.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
So what book are you currently reading?
Well, I just finished Reach for the Summit, Pat Summitt's
book.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm currently reading a couple of books. I kind of depends on what kind of mood I'm in. I'm reading Kevin Hart's book, and for a little fun and laughter. That's easy and light. And the other one I'm reading is Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Oh, are you a Game of Thrones fan?
Huge.
You watching House of
Dragon?
Yeah,
oh my gosh, yes.
Good. I'm watching it.
I keep telling my husband I want a dragon for my birthday. He never comes to buys me my dragon. But
who knows? Maybe
I'll get
surprise coming. So other than Stories from the River, do you regularly listen to podcasts?
No, I don't. I listen to them when they're sent to me. If I've got, hey, there's some good nuggets here, because I'm probably more of a reader versus the listener. Yeah.
Do you binge watch television shows? What show are you currently binge watching?
We're waiting on new series to kick, because here we are in September, right? We're waiting on those. Right now it's House of Dragon. That's what we're on right now.
It's a great one, but we got to watch it once a week.
Yeah.
So when you stop working for the day and have some time for yourself or your family, and maybe it's just going out on your cruiser, what do you like to do for fun or to relax?
Oh, fun for me is Well, I love football. I love college football specifically, right? So I can watch some college football. But when football's not on, I do love sports. I do like to read. I find joy sometimes in doing some crafting, little craft projects.
Okay.
Nothing major, but it kind of gets my head out of it once or twice a year. I like to cook a little bit too.
Cook, ride motorcycles, do some craft projects, and
travel. I love to travel.
College football.
Yeah.
So to someone who is not a memory maker and they're thinking about whether or not they should come to the river, what advice would you offer to that person?
I would tell that person that what you're going to get is more than even what you put into it, because there's such opportunity. So what you think you're going to start with is not where you're going to end.
Okay.
It's not.
Love it. Love it. We like to say your success is our scorecard.
Yeah.
So before I let you off the hot seat, Kim, and we did let this one run a little bit long because I know you had so much great things to share with us. I did ask some of your friends about you to share a few words. And so
is this PG or is it?
It's all PG. Okay. This is from Jim Goins. Kim is a great, well-rounded leader and the best boss I have ever served. Kim invests herself in each person on her team, and she shows that she cares. Kim is intelligent and thoughtful. Kim is fun, flexible, friendly, firm, and fierce. Oh, there's that word, fierce.
Wow.
Kim continuously provides challenging projects that help me grow professionally. Kim is not a micromanager and trusts us to get the job done successfully. These attributes make me want to do my best for her in Broad River. I have a great deal of respect and dedication for her. And then in all caps, bold, GSD. 10 sales.
Oh, damn.
Kim is a relentless champion of those on her team, and that has been such a good lesson for me as a leader. To see how much they all know how much she cares about each and every one of them and wants nothing more than to give them the credit for all they accomplish is really such an inspiring example of leadership. She is bold and strong when facing tough challenges that need someone to speak up on their behalf. She is also so loving and empathetic to those around her, both professionally and personally. She has been such a blessing to me as a new leader in the company to model what can be.
Wow.
Here's from Sherry Nettles, relatively new on your team.
Yeah.
I have had the pleasure and honor of working for Kim for 4.5 months. Kim radiates positivity and energy every day. Her passion for marketing in Broad River shines through. Her leadership has made a great impact on me in the short time I have worked with her. Kim truly cares for people and represents what she calls being a good, kind human. Mm. She takes a personal interest in people and what's important to them. Kim stands up for her beliefs and what's best for the company and her direct reports. She's on the front lines with her team, doing what it takes to execute successfully. It is evident in her interactions with departments across the organization and with AFI that she is respected and is called upon for guidance and collaboration. In summary, she's a strong leader who represents the values of the organization. She says I could go on and on. There's so many positive things to say about her and her impact. From Hope Stocker.
Oh, Hope.
Kim is such a force of nature. She has inspired me to be bolder and more confident since she exudes these qualities in everything that she does. Kim and I bonded over our parenting of teens and 20-somethings, and I can always count on her to be real with me. I believe Kim coined the term GSD here at Broad River, and she truly embodies GSD. Store openings, volunteering, queen of marketing, ARC leader. She is unstoppable.
Wow.
Stacy McCormick. The queen of Broad River, always upbeat and dynamic, knows her business and throws a heck of a grand opening. Lynn Knowles. Kim is incredible to work with. She came to Broad River Retail 1 year after I did, and we became fast friends, both trying to navigate this wild, wonderful furniture business. Her positive approach in every situation, coupled with her desire to see others succeed, is what sets Kim apart from many others. She always puts others before herself. She is one of the first female executives I have worked with who strives to help other female leaders be successful. It isn't a competition for her. She wants us all to win. Whether it is planning a promotion or having a coffee call to catch up, time with Kim is a blessing to me. Kim is one of my favorite memory makers. And Heather Greenwood. When I think about Kim, I smile. When I talk to her, it lights me up inside. When I get the opportunity to work and learn from her, there is no greater joy. I have had the honor to get to know Kim over the past 5 years, and I am thankful for every moment. Kim is a true mentor to me and has inspired me in so many ways. She is always there to talk, share support, trade ideas, brainstorm together, and always pushes me outside of my comfort zone. Working together on the Home Furnishings Expert Soiree was an incredible experience. I have never gotten to partner with her like that, and I am so grateful for that experience together. She is smart, innovative, creative, strong, and purposeful. It is my honor to call her a mentor and a friend. Those are some really enlightening, shining, bright words. Well, Kim, it's been a joy to work with you these past 5.5 years. I work very closely with you.
Yeah, you do.
And it's been a joy just to have you on the podcast. So thanks for coming to do this. We've been looking forward to having you. Any final words you'd like to say?
No, I appreciate you having me here and our time together as always.
Awesome. Hey, that is the Kim Harkness episode here, Stories from the River. We try to bring you fresh, new content every Wednesday morning. And so wherever you're listening or watching, if it's on YouTube, do us a favor and mash that subscribe button or that like button. That's how we grow the pod, and let us know how we're doing. Or if you're listening on Apple or Google or Amazon or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts, hit that like button or subscribe button, and always let us know how we can get better. We appreciate our audience, and we appreciate the opportunity to bring you fresh, new stories, authentic stories from the river. Kim, thanks so much.
GSD.